Welcome to the Sandler Center for the Performing Arts, everybody. We got a great show tonight. You're going to see Brad Garrett. Make some noise for that. Yeah, he's in the house. We also have a very special guest opening act. He's from Virginia Beach. He recently got back from the Iowa Comedy Festival, and he's been seen on America's Funniest People. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your opening act from Virginia Beach, Bill Russ.
Think about this, if I was a hairstylist and had a rude customer or someone who did tip me, I think I'd sweep up all their hair and then sprinkle it at crime scenes. Should tell you a little bit about myself. I am sloppy, trying to get organized, watching one of those organizational shows on HGTV. And they said when you're going through your house cleaning and organizing, a rule of thumb is, if you haven't used it in a year, get rid of it. So I'm thinking about having myself castrated. I'm in my early 40s now. And guys, as you get older, you got to take care of yourself more. You got to go to the doctor, and I've been doing that. He's been telling me what exercise to do and what to eat. And now his office keeps calling me back. He keeps wanting me to return. I think my doctor has a crush on me. And I'm like, really? You let a man stick his finger up your ass once. He thinks he owns you. I mean, these eye doctors. Is that better or worse? Tell me, is that better now or worse? Tell me, is that better now or worse? I was coming out of the Walmart on Lynn the other day, and right by the exit, they had a table set up with a sign that said, "Vote for the best cashier." I'm like, what? Best cashier? I'm like, what do you look for, you know? So I went with 74-year-old Earl. He not only gave me back too much change, he forgot to ring up half my shit. And a while ago, I got into debt real heavily and had to borrow some money, and I saw this ad. You've probably seen it. It said, bad credit, no problem. Well, 3 months later, apparently there was a problem. They seemed really surprised that I couldn't pay. I'm like, you knew my history. What the hell were you thinking, loaning me money? Then thankfully got a letter from him the other day that said, final notice. So I'm just glad that's over. And I did something big for me recently. I'm single. I'm saying no. I'm trying to find someone, having no luck at all, so I was in the Lynn Haven Mall recently, and I saw a couple. I went up and I asked them how they met. Figured that'll give me an idea. The girl said that she worked in the mall, and the guy came up to her and said, "I think you're pretty." And they've been going out ever since. I was like, that worked? So the next day I'm hanging out in the mall. I think you're pretty. I think you're pretty. Think you're pretty! So now I'm banned from the mall. I was talking to a friend of mine who's black. He told me his fantasy has always been to have a white woman. And I told him, yeah, me too. I have a friend of mine who's from New York City, and he lives in Columbia, South Carolina now. I go, why do you live there? He goes, well, I got married, and that's where my wife's from. Another friend of mine is from Richmond, and he lives in Missouri. I go, why do you live there? He goes, well, I got married, and that's where my wife's from. So it seems like, guys, when you get married, you end up having to live where your wife's from. So now I only date women from Hawaii. I was watching Dateline NBC the other night. They're doing a show about shock therapy. And they had this little girl in there. She was like 10 years old. And she was terrified of spiders. She couldn't go out of the house. She couldn't go to school. This affected her whole life. So her parents put her in this shock therapy program where they initially showed her pictures of spiders. Then they had her interact with a toy spider. And then by the end of the therapy, she was able to interact with a real live spider. Shock therapy. It was amazing. So I contacted Dateline, and I told them I'm terrified of naked women. From Virginia Beach. Waiting for Stone Phillips to call. Here's your song. But now music has changed. It'd be weird to hear him today. Like, Casey, my punk-ass bitch of a boyfriend left. Can you please play Smack That Bitch Up? I love sports. I always thought the two most boring sports to watch would be baseball and golf. I was thinking, what if they switched the announcers? And you had the baseball announcer do golf, and the golf announcer do baseball. Well, here's Ken Griffey Jr. to the plate. Now Griffey's got the 27-ounce wood. Now there seems to be a slight downward slope between third base and second base. That could be a problem. Now the sun seems to be peeking out of the bleachers. We can see other effects. Now should Griffey hit a double, it would be 90 feet to first base. Dog leg left to second. And here's the pitch. Ooh, it's out here. That'd be a home run. Then you have the baseball announcer do golf. Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to the Masters Golf Tournament here in Augusta. It's a beautiful day for golf, and here we are at the first hole. And, well, they tell me the first hole's a dog leg left. Well, out the dog left, but somebody better pick it up. There's Freddie Couples up to the tee. Angle for golfer, swing! Oh, right in the water, what the hell was he thinking? It's great. I was watching an interview with Michael Phelps, and he said that next to his bed, he keeps a sheet of paper with all of his goals written down. And they said, well, how many of these goals have you accomplished? He goes, well, all of them. I'm thinking next to my bed, I have a lamp. And then they interviewed Michael Phelps' mother. And she said that as a child, he was so hyper. She said to him, if you have all this energy, why don't you get into a pool? Now he's like a 14-time gold medalist. So I was thinking, how many Olympic careers have been ruined by Ritalin? I love watching the National Spelling Bee on ESPN every year. Watch the National Spelling Bee. They give these kids words that never come up in life, ever, right? I think they should make the spelling bee more realistic for these 9-year-olds. It should be like, Jimmy, your word is foreclosure. Susan, your word is unemployment. Jamal, your word's subpoena. Roxanne, put your skirt down. Your word's chlamydia.